Hey everyone, welcome to today's Program Yourself Thin podcast. Today we're talking about optimizing my bread eating routine. I over the last couple of weeks have gotten into sourdough bread making, and sourdough bread is probably one of my top three favorite things on the planet. And that was before I started making it myself. So what I realized, I've never really had fresh baked sourdough in my life, and so as you can imagine, that makes it even 1,000 times more enjoyable, 1,000 times more addictive, maybe. So I wanted to talk about how I approach this new arrival in my life, because I think that it'll give you kind of a specific context for a lot of the kind of general ideas I talk about, right? And so the first general idea I want to talk about, that I talk about all the time, is the concept of all or something, right? As opposed to all or nothing, right? So one of the biggest distinctions with Program Yourself Thin is that we're all or something, not all or nothing. Dieters are all or nothing, right? They're either doing everything perfect or they're not doing anything at all. And Program Yourself Thin, we're always in the game. Sometimes we're really doing everything, hitting it hard, and sometimes we're kind of coasting a bit because life's gone wacky and crazy. Okay. But having that mindset of all or something sets you up for a lot of things. But one thing specifically is my situation, where all of a sudden there's sourdough bread in my life and I need to manage it, because if I'm all or nothing, I'm probably just going to opt out. So, oh my God, I'm eating sourdough bread. I can't stop eating it. And oh my God, I'm going to gain 50 pounds and I'll be right down that road. But I don't do that. Okay. Because I've been doing this long enough to know that really managing your weight is about managing the small things. Okay. Because as you go through life, and again, I need to make this other distinction too, that we talk about all the time, is that with Program Yourself, then the goal is living at your goal weight, not just getting to your goal weight, right? When you look at a diet, diets are just about getting to your goal weight. So you're going to do whatever plan you have to do extreme to get to your goal weight. But there's no real concept of how you're going to move past that, right? There's just the vague idea, I'm going to do this thing, get to my goal weight, and then I'll figure the rest out. Okay. And so what that approach does is it completely makes you underprepared for, even if you do get to your goal weight, how to actually live there. Because, yeah, okay, best case scenario, you can be really strict with yourself and lose weight, right? You can be so fixated and fired up and motivated to lose weight that you do your keto plan perfect, or you're tracking your calories perfect, or your intermittent fasting per whatever it may be. Okay. But once you get to your goal weight, the timeline expands, right? So while it may take you months or even a year or two to lose the weight, the goal is to live at that weight for years and years and decades and for the rest of your life. Okay. So as soon as we start to expand that timeline into years and decades, you've got to accept the idea that you cannot be perfectly following your diet for decades. It just doesn't work that way. Life comes at you, good things happen, bad things happen, and your eating is going to be affected. So one of the big ways that diets fail you is that they're so rigid, and you have to do it to the letter or not do it at all. And so it doesn't really leave the flexibility and space to adjust when different things in your life shift. And so, okay, so we go back to the bread, right? So all of a sudden, sourdough bread comes into my life, and it's all of a sudden this issue, right? Now, again, you say, well, I could just not make sourdough bread. Okay. That's not where I'm at right now. It's really fun. I enjoy it. I don't know why. I don't know why I like it. My brother did it. I saw, oh, that's cool. I've enjoyed doing it. It's kind of fun. It's a nice little hobby. It certainly tastes good. It's fun to give the bread away to people. People love it. It's fun. Okay. I like it. So what I'm doing is, I know I like it. I know it's also, I don't want to say it's a challenge, but it is. How do I manage the bread now? Right? Because I have a system for how I live at my goal weight that I really, again, I've been following for over 30 years, but I'm always tweaking and optimizing and refining it. But before the bread, I got a clear cut plan of how to eat so I can live at my goal weight. All of a sudden, there's loaves of bread dropped into my eating pattern. Okay. So they need to be accounted for. But before I get into the specific strategies I use, again, what I'm kind of talking about here is the mindset piece first, because the strategies don't matter if you don't have the proper mindset. And so my mindset at this point is, let's say it's been 3 weeks of making bread, and I have made a lot of bread. Okay. And I plan to make a lot more. Now, again, I know that this is something I've got to keep an eye on if I am serious about my weight, and I am. So what I will do is I will have this all or something mentality. So I have the ability, when the bread comes in, that now I know I'm eating the bread. I know it's more than I typically eat. It's throw my eating off a little bit. And so now my expectations have changed. I might put a couple pounds on, during and I make this thing here to kind of say it's a disorienting time, because now all of a sudden I'm figuring out how to what's the word? Integrate bread into my life now, right? Because typically I have clean and pleasure days. Clean days are kind of Monday through Friday. Pleasure days are on the weekend. And all of a sudden, in part of my clean days is I don't really eat much flour. I haven't eaten flour Monday through Friday very rarely for a long time. Okay. And so now all of a sudden I got flour and I got bread in my life, right? So how do you deal with it? It's a big shift. But the first thing is I'm grounded, I'm calm, I'm relaxed about it. Okay. I'm not freaking out. I might put a couple pounds on as I learn to figure out how to integrate this, but that's okay because I know I'm going to integrate it and I'm okay with the process. So I'm grounded in being calm, centered, relaxed. That allows me to be rational and strategic with how I want to deal with the bread, right? That's the first thing. And that's a huge distinction because a lot of times we start to know we're eating more and we start freaking out. Oh my God, I'm gonna put 20 pounds on, I'm gonna put 50 pounds on, I'm gonna be 100 pounds heavier by the end of the year. And we start freaking ourselves out. We start saying negative things to ourselves. We start expecting the things we don't want. And that encourages them and nudges them to happen. Okay. So first thing is I'm grounded and calm. I've gone through this with a bunch of things anyways. I know that living at my goal weight, this is the path, that there are going to be different things that happen. Sometimes it's a, sourdough bread falling into my life. Sometimes it's something unpleasant, a loss of a loved one, work stress, relationship stress, financial stress, celebrations, right? There's all sorts of things that can throw you off. And so you need to be able to manage them. And so I want you to realize that with dieting, you never learn how to do that. Okay. So I'm giving you this as an example, just to give you like a real clear-cut example of how to kind of approach this. So with the bread, I'm aware that I'm eating flour. I'm eating more bread where I didn't eat it before. And so I'm very aware of this. I'm grounded and calm. And so now I start to activate some of the strategies. And so I realize I'm in a new phase. It's a little disorienting. So I know I'm not going to come out with the perfect plan yet. And so in this first part, I stay extra grounded and calm. I start weighing myself though more. I want to see what exactly the bread's going to do to me. Okay. So one of the first things I started doing once I started eating more bread, I'm going to go back to weighing myself every day. Now I used to weigh myself every day when I wanted to lose weight. Okay. Because I think that's a good strategy. You don't like it, you don't have to do it. Okay. But for me, I use the scale. The scale for me is very much like the speedometer of your car. It's just a data point. And so I don't have much emotion involved with the scale because I know how to, oh shit. One of the best ones. And hold on one second. Everything's dead here. All right. Sorry, everyone. In TikTok land, you couldn't hear any of that. And it was really good. Okay. So, weighing myself with the bread. So, when it comes to weighing myself, again, when I was losing weight, I weigh myself every day. And now I look at the scale, kind of like the speedometer of my car. It's just a data point. And so right when I started eating more bread, I start getting on the scale just so I have a clear-cut idea of what I'm doing. This helps me manage the negative voice in my head, because without weighing myself every day, my brain is going to over-exaggerate the negative effects. It's going to say things like, oh, I'm 20 pounds, I'm going to put 50 pounds on by the end of the year. I'm going to have 80 pounds on eating all this bread. I want to combat that. Right? I can't stop it, but I can combat it. And I combat it by getting on the scale all the time now. And I get on the scale, and I'm also recognizing that the scale may go up a little bit because I'm eating more bread. I'm okay with that. Again, I keep grounding myself in calm, centered, rational, logical energy. All right. And so as I move forward, what I'm looking to do mainly is I'm looking at the scale. I'm going to look and see what I do, because my goal now is, how can I eat as much sourdough bread as I want and weigh what I want to weigh? That's my big question now, right? Because I love eating it. It's literally one of the best things in the world. However, I love living at my goal weight more, right? And so that's another piece of the mindset puzzle, is that I recognize, and there's also an awareness piece. So let's start with awareness, then we'll get back to motivation. So my awareness when the bread comes in, I'm very aware of it because I have a structured way of eating. When the bread comes in, I know that's new. And so I'm very aware of when I'm eating the bread, because I don't typically eat at those times. I don't typically eat bread there. So I'm aware of it. And so my awareness has always been high with this here. I'm aware when I'm doing it. I start weighing myself, so I'm aware of what the actual impact on my weight's going to be. I also know from weighing myself regularly, it usually takes about 2 weeks for the results to really show up, right? So I'm right kind of in that space now where I'll probably start to see my weight go up a little bit potentially, okay? Now, I don't know for sure, because Other strategies I include, and this is why I say all or something is so important, because I'm not freaking out. I'm not throwing in the towel because I'm eating sourdough bread and I shouldn't eat that. I'm not saying that. I'm saying, how can I manage this in the best way possible? And while I'm eating more bread, I start activating small something strategies. Okay. Because I'm not being perfect. In my mind, eating sourdough bread, that's not my ideal plan. In an ideal world, I'm not eating bread during the week. Okay. So it's weird little thing here, but I'm still involved in the process. And so what I do as I'm eating more sourdough bread is I'm making little cuts in other places, right? I'm using less peanut butter on my toast. I'm not putting peanut butter on my banana anymore. I'm making little strategic cuts in other places. Okay. In order to make up for some of the extra bread I know I'm eating. But that you will not be able to do if you're in this all or nothing mindset, because that all or nothing mindset, again, you just quit. You're just, very emotional. You can't see things clearly. And it's hard to appreciate the value of small little shifts you make. Okay. So staying calm and grounded and aware of what's going on sets you up to be able to use the strategy of kind of slowly cutting other things down. So I don't know where this bread thing's going to lead to, but I'm already well prepared for it. Right. So again, I'm aware of how much I'm eating, when I'm eating it. I've started to activate strategies to cut calories in other places to kind of mitigate the bread thing. And as I go through this, I'm figuring out what's the right amount of bread for me to eat. Where's the sweet spot? Right. Because I'm not going to eat so much bread that all of a sudden I put a bunch of weight on. That's not where my goals are. So again, I reinforce my motivation. Yes, I want to live at my goal weight. And it's always way more important than any bread I could ever taste. And so I keep that in line. But now I'm in the phase of figuring out, how can I strategically eat more bread and weigh what I want to weigh? But I'm in that position right now. And so I share this with you because I think it's such a different approach than dieters typically have, because dieters are so all or nothing, either this big move or not, on or off. And I believe that the real game of living your goal weight is dealing with these little things in real time in a calm, relaxed way, as strategically as you possibly can. So I hope that this helps you out. And again, it's really the idea that we're going to be calm, grounded, and approach what impacts our weight strategically. All right. And if you want some support in this approach to dealing with your weight, click the link in my bio, get the free hypnosis session. And again, I got a training coming for, I got a bunch of cool stuff coming. So go check that out and it'll help you out. Okay. So go check that out. You can click the link in my bio, or if you're on Facebook land, you can go to Program Yourself. Then I'll put the link in there for you. Oops. Boop. There it is. Yeah, go check that out. And I do have a new book coming out, so you will get that free as well. Oh, I see what I did. What a weird thing. Hold on one second. Hold on. Oh, I wonder. I'm sorry for the audio. Audio sounds kind of shitty today because, come on. All right, there we go. Sorry. It's making me nuts though. These things were dead as a doornail. These little audio things were dead because the thing was unplugged. And anyways, got to crack a few eggs to make an omelet, right? I'm upgrading some things, and in the meantime, other things get loosened up and screwed up. Anyways, so yeah, make sure you get on my list though, because I got a book coming out. It's going to come out January 1st. I'm giving it away for free for the first 5 days of January. So if you're on my email list, I will let you know about it. Remind you, go get it. You'll be able to get it off Amazon Kindle free. Okay. So I really wanted to get it. I was just reading it today. I was reading the final draft. So I'm finally, oh my God, right. I will tell you, people always say, oh, the last 10 pounds, last 5 pounds. It's like that with everything in life. I swear it took me like 2 months to get this book written and together. And it's taken me a month to get the formatting done. It's like, it doesn't seem like it should take that long. But anyways, it's finally, the book cover is finished. The draft is finally finished and formatted, and it will be officially completed next week, probably by Wednesday. And that's exciting. But anyways, reading through it, it's really good. I'm giving away for free January 1st to the 5th. I can't wait for y'all to get it. I think you're going to love it. I certainly love it. I think it's really good. So I don't care what you say. I really do. I was thinking today, I'm like, I don't give a shit. I think this is so great. I think it's a really good book. So of course I want you all to love it, but I think it's good. That's what Elena says. I like the Hero Keto bread. Um, okay. I mean, I've never had keto bread. I do typically, I eat Ezekiel bread, and I'm not gonna lie, I'm not gonna say I'm not anti-flour, but I'm certainly aware of flour and I moderate it in my diet. There's no question about it, because my biggest challenge, I even mentioned this with the bread thing. My biggest challenge food-wise is bread. Bread. Okay. I could eat a loaf of sourdough bread like it was a snack and I feel fine. I love it, pizza, bread, sandwiches. I mean, I could eat bread all day, every day. And I did for a long period of time. um, so bread for me is a big thing I focus on. So this sourdough thing is more than, you know what I mean? Like it's for me anyways, it's a big challenge. And so I like sharing that with you, because again, the diet industry makes it seem like you're gonna get to your goal weight and then you just live there forever, but it's not. It's like surfing. I use the metaphor of surfing. It's like surfing, you always have to adjust, right? The waves always changing. And that's very much like living at your goal weight. It's like you're always adjusting to things. That's what I mean, like financial stresses, celebrations, parties, vacations, holidays, losing a job, bills. You know what I mean? Like all these things are constantly going on. New foods, new snacks. You know what I mean? So there's always things you have to deal with. So it's this active process. And I think dieting makes you think like it's just a static process where I follow the static plan. I'm just going to follow it perfectly. I'm going to follow it forever. And it's not real. It doesn't set you up for real life. So that's why I was excited to talk about this today. But yeah, I've never tried the keto bread. Lana says that Ezekiel bread toasted is okay toasted. Yeah, it's okay toasted. I agree. And they've made it better over the years. I've been eating it for a long time and they've definitely made it better. But Ezekiel bread, like not toasted, is not something I like to eat at all. So I toast it. Mama says, wow, fascinating. So glad you're going through the sourdough bread thing so we can learn from you how to think about it without the dieter mindset. Yeah, I thought you'd like that because, again, we just don't hear that a lot. And I think a lot of people, they just kind of opt out, right? Because again, most people don't really understand moderation's a skill set. You can get really good at moderating. You got to get the right mindset and the right strategies, but moderation's a skill. And when you practice at it, it's a skill for me. I am not nervous in the least, folks, that I'm going to put 50 pounds on from sourdough because I eat it too much. Like I have zero worry that that's going to happen. And so I have zero worry it's going to happen because I have my eyes open about it the entire time. I've got a very specific goal that I want to see how much sourdough can I eat and stay at my goal weight. That's what I'm focused and obsessed on now. And I'm weighing myself every day, doing. I'm paying attention to what I'm putting all this stuff together, but it's all in service of how can I eat as much sourdough as I can and stay at my goal weight and stay as healthy and happy as I want to be too. Because that's one thing I'm taking into account is I look, okay, flour, I'm not going to replace and eat a bunch of flour and then get rid of a bunch of nutrients. I'm not going to do that either. So again, I share this with you because you never get this perspective. Dieting and weight loss in America is like 99.9% all or nothing thinking. And I fucking hate it. I think it's the sabotaging thing and no one even sees it. And so I talk about it every day, but I thought the bread thing gives it more context and makes it more valuable. Mama says, I'm an amazing baker, sourdough pretzels, English muffins, everything. I had to stop baking completely because I thought I was an addict. I felt compelled to eat the food, so I chose abstinence. And that's fair, Mama. I respect that. I may end up there too. You know what I mean? So again, let it be known. I think I'm really good at moderation. I may find that this sourdough thing's too big for me too. I'm not, hey, my number one goal is my ultimate goal is I want to weigh what I want to weigh. And so that is far above my love of bread. And it's far above my, ego saying, oh, I'm a moderation master. If it turns out I can't moderate bread, I will cut it out and abstain. I will stop this hobby and find a new one. Okay. So I want you to hear this in my voice. However, I am pretty confident that I'm going to figure out how to be able to bake sourdough things moderately so I can still maintain my weight. And part of that strategy, because I really just enjoy doing it, which is kind of funny, and that might pass too. It might just be a little phase. I don't know. We'll see. But a huge part of what I've been thinking about is I just like doing it. And it's like I've been thinking in my head, like giving it away. And so I got a bunch of bags so I can put loaves in there and give them away to people. And so that's another part of the strategy. I have a lot of strategies. I'm not going to go through all of them with you, bore you, but even part of the strategy, how can I bake and maintain my weight, is getting rid of it. You know what I mean? I already recognize having that shit around is an issue. I'll give you one more. Let me share this one with you because I think this is one of my favorites. And I think it's a counterintuitive one. And I know it works for other things, so I feel confident it's going to work here. One thing I do also, because I live in an all or something mindset, and because I understand the true value of pleasure and the real definition of pleasure, I don't beat myself up for eating the sourdough bread. Again, most dieters are going to eat sourdough bread and then they're going to start beating themselves up. And now they're not even in the game anymore. I'm going to eat sourdough bread and want to enjoy it as much as I possibly can. And that's what I've been doing. And by approaching it that way, already in a couple of weeks, what I've learned is that bread, an hour out of the oven for about an hour or two, that's the magic time. That particular bread is infinitely more enjoyable than the bread the next day. Okay. That being said, the next day, if the bread's there, I'm more likely to eat it. I see it. I'm thinking about it. I might eat it. Okay. So that's why I'm starting to get rid of the bread. Okay. And I'm starting to focus on how can I get the most enjoyment possible out of the sourdough? Well, I know it's that hour or two. Right. So for example, I'll make a special loaf tomorrow. Get my brother come up, a bunch of people come up. I'm going to make a special loaf. We will all eat it there when we eat it. So I'm going to make a couple pieces of bread, but I won't eat the rest of it because it'll all be gone. So these are the strategies that make the difference. And I know dieters say, no, you can't do that. You can't have now 2-3 pieces of bread. You can't do that. You can't do that. You know, and I'm here to prove them all fucking wrong because they're wrong. Okay. You're controlling your weight is a game of inches, you know? And so anyways, but we will see. I will report on this. Again, you will hear me talk about it more. I will let you know. Again, this is a journey. This is kind of the opening. I want to kind of let you know about it. But I will keep you up to date on it because I want you to see, I've done this hundreds of times with other things. So that's why I'm so confident. All right. So I have no doubt in my mind that I will handle this one way or the other. But I want to take you through it because you'll be able to see in real time how I deal with something like that. And a lot of the things I do are probably different than what you would have assumed. I'm going to imagine, you know, so I hope it helps you. Yeah, Elena says, yeah, half my problem, sourdough puts the weight on me. Yeah. And again, it may put the weight on me. I will see. And again, I know it'll take a couple of weeks and we'll just see, but I will adjust. That's the thing. You know what I mean? So if I can eat bread, if I could eat bread once a week, then that's what I will do. But I will make it the best, most enjoyable bread possible. And sorry about the sound issue in the beginning, TikTok. Judith says, I started to put half a loaf of the Jason sourdough in the freezer because I find that I love it too much. You can't beat yourself up for eating too much of something. You just have to, as you say, cut down. Yeah, exactly. And the beating yourself up, again, people think that's a good strategy. It's not. Beating yourself up's a shitty strategy because it puts you in a problem mode. You know, beating yourself, oh, you bad person. You shouldn't have done that. Oh, here you go again. You thought you were doing good. And now look at you now. You don't even care. You're not going to do it. No way. I'm not doing any of that to myself. What's that all about? No way. You know, I might be able to acknowledge, yeah, I like the sourdough bread. I'm a little caught up in it right now. I know that. I'm in the beginning of it, though. So I know it's a little bit of a disorienting time. I think people don't do it. See, you know, because dieters approach their weight loss purely on this logical idea that if I know what to do, I should do what I know. Well, yeah, I know I shouldn't eat any flour. Sure. You know what I mean? And let me put that knowledge and fact up against the genuine visceral pleasure of eating fresh sourdough bread. You know, I mean, again, dieters live in this world of, well, I shouldn't do that. I shouldn't do that. I know better than I shouldn't do that. Meanwhile, while they're doing it, I shouldn't be eating this cookie. I know I shouldn't eat this cookie. It's got sugar and calories in it. It puts the weight on. And that's a dieter's problem in a nutshell, is that you keep doing the thing you know you shouldn't, but you don't know how to actually change your behavior. So beating yourself up is not effective. Agreed, Judith. And you'll notice I'm not beating myself up about it at all. There's no beating myself up. There's me managing and handling it. I think of myself in Program Yourself, then a big part of Program Yourself then is managing the voices in your head, right? We all talk to ourselves, right? We call it an internal dialogue. And it's probably the number one thing influencing your weight, ultimately. Okay. But unfortunately, most people have never learned how to have a positive, supportive, encouraging self-dialogue. What you've done is you've internalized probably your most harsh or critical parent. You've internalized it into your own mind, and now you speak to yourself in that voice. And so you have this very parental, disciplinarian, authoritarian voice always chirping at you. I do too, but I've developed a coach voice. And so, oh, you fucking jerk, you shouldn't eat that sourdough. You can put 50 pounds on. Look what you're doing. You say, don't eat flour. I have that voice. It's right there. But what happens is as soon as that voice kicks in, I start to feel the effects of it. the other voice comes in, so wait, calm down, relax, just sourdough. We're going to figure this. We're going to manage this like we managed everything else. Okay. Calm down. Because that voice, you know, there's that feeling when you make a mistake. You know, I don't have that. I mean, I do. Again, I do have it, but I've trained myself to feel that and let it go. Okay, come on. We're going to figure this out. Again, I do reinforce my motivation at first. I want to weigh what I want to weigh. I want to be the person I want to be. I'm not going to throw all away because of sourdough. I'm going to figure out the sweet spot. You know, that's where my North Star. Now think about that question. Think about that way of being, and then think about how you've handled your challenges with foods. Have you calmly, groundedly, centeredly asked how you can manage the foods that you've struggled with in a more effective way so you can weigh what you want to weigh for the rest of your life? Have you ever asked that question or thought about it that way? And I know you haven't, because you've never learned how to think like a thin, healthy person. You've learned how to think like a dieter your whole life. And so dieting, I can't eat sourdough bread. Sourdough packs the pounds on. No offense, Lena, but again, that's the normal response that most people will have, you know? And so I can't eat sourdough. Oh my God. If I look at a loaf of sourdough, I'm 10 pounds heavier. That's not true. That's not true. That's a hypnotic suggestion that you think and experience is true, but it's not true. You can't look at a loaf of sourdough and put weight on. You could look at a loaf of sourdough and start craving it and desire it, eat the whole loaf, and then that puts weight on. So we have to be very specific with our words if you want to be able to manage your mindset and ultimately your weight. So, Conic says, have you had a weight loss journey, or do you just give it the advice? Yeah, no, over 30 pounds ago, over 30 years ago, I was 50 pounds heavier than I am now. So I dropped over 50 pounds over 30 years ago now. And the main thing though I want you to focus on is I've kept it off. You know, that's my big focus. And I think that's what separates Program Yourself Thin and what I'm talking about from virtually every single diet on the planet, is that the diets and weight loss, just in general, the weight loss industry is really about getting to your goal weight, right? And dieting especially is these extreme, overwhelming plans and ways to try and get to your goal weight. But the big problem with the diets, everyone knows this, but we kind of gloss over it, is that no one can stay at their goal weight. It's estimated that 95% of dieters that lose weight, the successful dieters, 95% of the successful dieters put the weight back on. So that's the big problem with dieting, is it's not built to last. And it's obvious why, when you really reflect on it, no shit, right? Because dieting, let's be honest, right? Even you, right? All you think about is losing the weight. You just want to lose the weight and just get to your goal weight. That's all you think about. You treat the maintenance as an afterthought. And I can understand why you'd think that, right? It's normal to think like, well, once I get there, I'll figure it out. I'm going to be so excited. I'll just stay there. But again, I go back to the statistic that 95% of dieters put the weight back on. You are probably one of those people. You have probably lost the weight at some point in your life and then put it back on. And so it may sound strange because you think of it, dieting is one of the biggest psychological operations in history, meaning it's a propaganda campaign. Dieting is a propaganda campaign done by the food industry. The dieting industry is a branch of the food processing industry. Weight Watchers was owned by Heinz. Jenny Craig was owned by Nestle. Atkins Food Products owned by the same company owns Auntie Anne's Pretzels and Cinnabon. Slim Fast owned by the same company owns Ben & Jerry's ice cream. The dieting industry is a propaganda industry for the food processing industry. And they teach you how to diet to keep you stuck. These companies don't want you to not eat their foods and be thin and healthy and happy for the rest of your life. Dieting is a recurring business model. It's brilliant in its evilness, but it's bullshit. Dieting doesn't work. We all know this, but we just keep trying to diet because that's the only thing people know. So dieting doesn't work, and there's a lot of reasons why, but one of the big reasons is that you just think of it as a two-phase process. You think, well, first I'm going to do this extreme thing to lose the weight, and then I'm going to bring my calories back up and I'm going to live at my maintenance weight. Meanwhile, 95% of people never do that. It's not a good strategy. So in Program Yourself Thin, we have a one-phase plan where we just start living at our goal weight. What's that mean? If you think about calories, right, your weight is a reflection of your average calorie consumption, right? So your weight's an average. Your weight's not usually, again, outside of outlier or extreme experiences, your weight basically hovers around the same weight. It might go up a couple pounds a year or over whatever, but basically it's kind of at a certain point. And it's at a certain point because your eating is pretty regulated. You eat the same volume of food pretty much every day, certainly every week. And that's why your weight stays pretty much the same. So when people diet, they tend to drastically cut 50 to 70% of their calories out so that they start losing weight quickly. And then once they get to their goal weight, they say, okay, now I'm going to bring my calories back up. And this is where everyone fails. Everyone, 95%, that's everyone statistically. So in Program Yourself Thin, starting from the same place, instead of doing this drastic cut, which is really hard and really reduces the chances of your success, instead what we do is we'll cut 10, 15, maybe 20% of your calories out. Then let your weight come down. And then you cut another 10, 15%, let the weight come down. And this is the process until you reach your goal weight. We're not doing this crazy shit. It doesn't work, folks. You want to argue with me? Let's argue. I'll argue about this all day long. You know? So, anyways, but yeah, that's my journey. Well, I could talk about my journey for in a million other ways, but that's the big picture of it. Lana says the thing with sourdough is it needs to be tended to regularly, so it needs to be used regularly. So you're eating it regularly. It is delicious. It's probably better for you than white bread from the store, but it will put the weight on me quickly. It's still carbs. Yeah, agreed. Yeah, and you know, yeah, I like cooking every day. So again, I'm already in my mind thinking about how I'm going to distribute this, you know, because I just enjoy doing it. Like at this point, anyways, it's good for me. I'm a routine guy. My wife. Like if it's a hobby that is like a routine thing and sourdough is, right? You have to feed the sourdough starter and then use it, whatever, right? So it's very routine. So I'm very good at routine. I would say I am a routine master of the ages. So it does fit in my thing. But again, what I'm doing with part of that routine is I am already in my mind planning on how I'm going to give these loaves and these products away, you know, and that's going to feel really good. So, and that's going to be the nice spot. Again, I will eat some of it. Absolutely. But I will give a lot of it away, you know? What's up, Sherry? Sherry says, I really appreciate your advice to not beat myself up. It was my MO for most of my life. Looking at it from your perspective helps me to be positive and solution oriented. Thanks for that. Yeah, you're welcome, Sherry. It's always a pleasure working with Sherry. You're so coachable, Sherry. So it is such a pleasure to be able to move you forward so easily, relatively, you know what I mean? So you're just such a quick learner. But yes, most of my clients, if I say virtually all my clients, are usually perfectionists and overthinkers, and those types of people tend to beat themselves up a lot. And so it's a fundamental part of the process for most of my clients that we have to learn how to manage the beating ourselves up piece, you know? Lana says, yeah, I'm very black and white, which is why I'm here. Yeah, I get it. The black and white thing, it's not your fault, by the way. Please understand, you know, there's really two big reasons why you're black and white. Number one is that you're biologically wired to be black and white, right? So the main organizing principle of your brain is to conserve energy. And so to think black and white conserves a lot of energy. To think in all the gray areas uses up a lot of energy. So right off the bat, your wiring really nudges you towards just black or white thinking. That being said, dieting on top of that neural wiring really drives it home, because dieting is a very black or white way of thinking, you know? And so you combine those two things and it's no wonder, you know, that you're a black and white thinker. But again, you know, that's why I'm here every day. It's not that you can't be an all or something thinker. You absolutely can, but you need to kind of learn about it, understand it, and then practice being that way. But to me, it's fundamental. I don't know how you would ever succeed. I don't think you're going to succeed if you're all or nothing, A, and then B, it's virtually impossible to maintain being an all or nothing thinker, because you just cannot be perfect forever. You know what I mean? A long enough timeline, you're going to make a mistake. And so in Program Yourself Thin, it's not about being perfect to get results. It's about being able to get back on track quickly when you make a mistake. And that's really the core of the program, really, is the Program Yourself Thin technique. I'm so excited, folks. I got the report. It's done. I got the cover made. I got a report coming out, which again, it's going to be free. And I'm literally just going to show you how to use the Program Yourself Thin technique, the redo rehearsal technique. I'm just going to give it to you, and I'm going to show you. It's the core of the program. And so I'll kind of give you a kind of an overview of how that works. And I'm going to be giving that away for free. So again, go get on my email list. I'll be sending that out next week. I should have that. I might have it before then, but I don't think so. I think next week I'll have it completely finished. But yeah, it's going to be right there for you. I'll show you how to do it. But anyways, one of the core of the program is the redo technique, where we go back over the day, pick something we wish we acted a little different, and fix it, make it better. That's how you program yourself and get back on track and learn from your mistakes. And then we use the rehearsal technique to program ourselves to do the right stuff for tomorrow. But again, I got that report coming to explain how to do the process, walk you right through it. It's free. It's the main part of the system. The other part of the system really is the hypnosis sessions, and then this here, the goal weight blueprint. But the Program Yourself Thin method really revolves around the redo rehearsal technique. And I just wrote the report up where you'll get that. So that's already done and free and ready to go next week. For people that are in the program, I'm going to be that's going to be an entire book. I was thinking I might get it done in December. I don't know. I've got a lot of it ready to go. It's basically, again, please understand, if you're in the program, you have the trainings you can go and watch and learn all that stuff. But I'm going to take all those trainings and put them into this book. Okay. But for right now, for new people and people that are in the program, you'll get kind of a report, which is a quick overview of how to use the redo rehearsal technique, just right there. So that is coming, and there'll be more depth to that coming further down the line, but just kind of letting you know it's coming down the line. Lena says, you're so right about the parent. Yeah. Again, transactional analysis, if you don't know about it, it's really, really a valuable paradigm to understand in order to make sense of your mind and how you talk and think to yourself. Again, I find it fascinating as a hypnotist. We are all our own best or worst hypnotists because we're always up in our head talking, guys, especially the overthinkers that I work with. We're constantly talking to ourselves, and you've never learned how to manage that talk. You've never learned how to manage the voices you think in. And so what most people do, because we have a negativity bias, is we tend to make one of the primary voices in our head the critical parent. And so we have this, and again, it's not saying your parent's a bad parent, please understand. But it becomes kind of the most authoritarian, disciplinarian version of that parent. And then it's exaggerated on top of it. And that becomes the main voice in our head that we talk to ourselves with. And so no wonder you can't stick to anything. The second you make a mistake, see, I told you we weren't going to do it. See, oh, look, you did it again, failed again. See, and it's just like, oh my goodness, you know what I mean? Like, how are you going to succeed with that kind of voice? If you take that situation, you took that voice in your head and put it on the outside and had someone like talk to you like that, you'd realize how ridiculous it was. But you don't realize that voice is there because you've never learned about it, So, hold on. There we go. So it's one of those things, though, that's there and it's so important, but you've never learned about it, and it's wreaking havoc because you can't even see it, So anyways, Elena says, I lost 100 pounds and gained every ounce back. Yep. Elena, I'm here for you. I say this every day. You are literally the person I do this for. I'm here every Monday through Friday, and I do this as a mission. Because for me, my mission in life is to help as many people as possible live at their goal weight. For me, this is real serious shit. My father died of a heart attack at 54. I was 9 years old. And there's no question that was part of the beginning of me being here right now. So people that are actually willing to put the work in and can lose 100 pounds and then put it back on, I'm here for you because, oh, I see. Yeah. Right. And then Lena says down 60 pounds and frankly scared. I appreciate you saying that, Lena, because that's exactly right. One of the most destructive things that can happen to a person with their weight is when you actually lose a bunch of weight and then you put it back on. That's one of the most dangerous things that can happen to you, because subconsciously what happens is you start to associate success with failure now. And that's where most dieters end up eventually. And it becomes just an inescapable pit of apathy, right? Because you lose 100 pounds and put it back on once, twice, 3 times. What ends up happening is I'm going to do it again. And even if I lost 10 pounds, there's a voice and it's, yes, so what? You're just going to put it back on. And that's why you're scared, But again, Lena, the reason you're scared is because you don't know how to live at your goal weight. And you know that more than ever now. And so the weight loss isn't enough. We need to know how to live at our goal weight, which again, in Program Yourself Thin, we really build it around the goal weight pyramid: mindset, lifestyle, eating. You need to be able to think, live, and eat like a thin, healthy person. And so, and I always say this, that like most people have like an overweight mindset, right? So again, your mindset is what you'd naturally do. We got to have one core mindset. You're either you have a goal weight mindset or you have an overweight mindset, and you just look at your weight. Have you been overweight or have you been at your goal weight? It's a real simple, easy thing to figure out. Okay. So if you've been overweight for a while, you have an overweight mindset. That's that. Okay. And you naturally and automatically do the things you need to do to be overweight. It's very easy for you. Just live your life and you're overweight. And so what ends up happening is you've got your overweight mindset and then you diet sometimes. Now, dieting is not a mindset. Please understand, dieting is not a mindset in of itself because you can't diet forever. Dieting is actually an anti-mindset. Let me explain what I mean. Dieting is basically you say, I'm going to go against everything I think. right? So now you're in a diet and you say, no, I'm not going to have those cookies. No, I'm not going to eat that pizza. No, I'm not going to eat those chips. But it's not a mindset in of itself. And so the big difference, I believe, between losing weight and then putting it back on and struggling with that forever is the realization that the big problem you have is not that you can't lose weight. You've proven you can lose weight. The problem is you have never learned how to think like a thin and healthy person. You know how to think like an overweight person, and you know how to kind of override that as a dieter for a little while, but you have no sense in your mind of how to live, how to think, live, eat like a thin, healthy person. You have no idea how to do that. And that's why you're scared. And until you learn that, I think you're going to continue to be scared. Because again, weight loss, let me show you the point, Lena. The big issue all dieters have to contend with is that most dieters will trade the pleasure and the excitement of the food for the pleasure and the excitement of the weight loss. And so that's how I'm going to lose weight. And now what's driving them is that scale going down. And as long as the scale keeps going down, they're still excited and motivated and ready to go. But eventually you reach your goal weight. Now, where do you get your excitement and pleasure from? Can't go back to the food. You're going to put the weight back on, and you can't keep dieting and losing weight because obvious. Okay. So where are you going to get your pleasure and excitement from? Now, I know you think, oh, I'm just going to get to my goal. I'll be so happy and so excited. I'll just stay there forever. That's not what happens. If you understand your brain at all, you understand that you have a hedonic system, which adapts to that new reality. And you normalize to it. And yeah, for a little while, the weight loss is exciting. Oh my God, you look amazing. Oh, you feel great. And it's all new and it's all exciting. But eventually you normalize to it. And it's great being thin and healthy and all the rest of it. But then you still got work stress, still got relationship bullshit, you still got bills to pay, you still got other stuff. And now you don't have your food to kind of distract you, make you feel better. You don't have the weight loss going down to make you excited and look forward to. And I think this is a real issue that people need to resolve if they have any chance at all of living at their goal weight. And I think dieters never even get close to figuring that part out. What's up, Peggy? Peggy says, I have great memories of my grandma making homemade bread and eating it while still warm. Yum. Yeah, it's super good when it's still warm. It's fun. It's just fun to do too. I will say, like, I'm in the point now where I'm impressed. It's the same. I will tell you, it's the same thing. Like, even when I play guitar, sometimes I'll play songs, but holy shit, I can't believe I can do this. And so the bread's just like that. I cannot believe I can make this bread at my house. Like, it's nuts to me. I'm still in that phase. Peggy says, I'm also interested in how you handle sourdough and Christmas cookies at the same time. What additional strategies do you think you might use when you have both? I think, Peggy, first of all, I think I will eat less cookies this year. I've already started to notice that part of what's happened when I've eaten more bread. Now, again, I always pit things against each other. That's the beauty. If you can stay aware when you're not being perfect, when you can go into something mode, you can do strategies like this where I will eat more bread, but now it's easier for me to say, no, I don't want the croissant. No, I'm not going to have the muffin. So now again, I'm not perfect, but sometimes I will have those things, but I have found that when I'm eating more bread, I'm enjoying the hell out of it. It has been easier for me to say no to certain other things. I've eaten definitely less desserts over the last couple of weeks, and it's easier for me to say, no, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to skip it, whatever. So when the Christmas cookies come, I will absolutely, because again, I always put things against it. I like cookies. I like the bread more. That's just how I am right now. Someone else might be different, but I will tell myself, and I'm going to do a lesson on this next week. I'm going to talk about it because I was thinking this last night. A big part of what I do is I negotiate with myself, but I negotiate in good faith. I'm not saying I'm not doing the dieting negotiation bullshit. I'm not doing that. I'm genuinely saying to myself, I want to enjoy food as much as I possibly can and weigh what I want to weigh. And so I'm always putting things on hierarchies, right? And so for me, I enjoy the bread more than the cookies. Now, part of that's, I enjoy the flavors of both of them similarly. I really love cookies. I like the bread a little bit more, but then psychologically, I like the bread more than the cookies because at least I'm not eating sugar. So I feel better about that. And so I put for me, now again, it might be different for you. And so you would adjust this, please understand this. But for me personally, I know myself. And so I know that I like the bread more, for a couple of reasons. And so I would prefer to eat the bread over the cookies. And so that I can almost guarantee, we will see, and I will let you know. I believe that's going to help me to eat less cookies than I did last year. So that's what I think, but I'll let you know. Lena says, I lost it with healthy carb cycling, but then started working out, got hungry. Yep. Stopped caring about carb cycling, gained it all right back. Working out makes me absolutely ravenous. I'm glad you said that, Lena, because that's why I rarely recommend that people I work with should start by exercising and working out. Now, again, I think walking, riding a bike, doing activity, I think is wonderful. I think when you start working out, for most of my clients, now you got to understand, most of my clients haven't worked out in a long time. Okay. So if you haven't worked out in years, please don't start your weight loss by starting to work out hard. It's never going to work. Again, when you start working out, it takes a ton of energy to get yourself to do it. And that's less energy you have to influence your eating. You get sore, and that drives you towards the food more. You get hungrier because you're using energy and your body wants to replenish. And then there's the licensing effect where you're like, oh, I burned a bunch of calories, so I can have that muffin, and that doesn't work out well. So, most of the time for me, I recommend my clients take that energy you would put into working out and put it into dialing your eating in. I think you're going to get better results by controlling what goes in your mouth than working out. There's a great saying that you can't out-train a bad diet. And mathematically and statistically, it's just very true. So you're better off, in my opinion, spending that time dedicating it to this, your mindset, lifestyle, and eating, and not the working out initially. And again, I love working out. I think muscle resistance training is great. Cardio is great. All this stuff's great. I love it. But again, I'm saying, me personally, though, I will tell you, I've lost over 50 pounds and maintained it for over 30 years. In those 30 years, I haven't dieted once, and I haven't consistently exercised in any way. So I exercise the last 8 months. I've started to do kind of more resistance training because I'm getting older and it's important for other reasons. But you absolutely do not need to work out to lose weight. And a lot of times I think it has an opposite effect, Yeah, Peggy says, would a homeless shelter take your surplus? Well, that's a great question, Peggy. Actually, one of the strategies I'm going to do is, because I've thought about this, right? What I've been making is sourdough loaves, and they're huge. And so I'm not going to cut them and then bring them someplace. It's kind of weird, So what I'm going to do is, I just got baguettes makers. So I'm going to make baguettes. And part of what I'm going to do is make those baguettes and give them to, I'm the president of the board now. I gotta still internalize that, but I'm on the board of a nonprofit in town, and we have a food pantry. And so one of the things I'm going to do is make baguette breads and bring them down there so people can have fresh baked baguette breads with them. It won't be a lot, but whatever, it'll be some of them. So that's one thing I'm definitely going to do. And then I'll give them away to friends and different people I know. So I'm figuring that out now, though. I don't have it figured out, and I'm figuring it out. But that's a big part of my strategy is going to be, I will give 50% of the bread I make away, and that's going to do a lot of the heavy lifting. And then I will refine the rest of it, how I work that. What's up, Melancholy? Melancholy says, I'm in no hurry this time. I'm enjoying the time I get alone with my progress before other people notice and make it their business. I want to lose about 75 pounds, but the first 20 are all mine. That's wonderful, Melancholy. I love that attitude. I would reframe one little thing. I would reframe, this is my suggestion, folks, take it or leave it, but I would suggest that you stop defining your goal in terms of, how much weight you want to lose. Right. So I get it. That's part of it. Right. So it's like, instead of saying I want to lose 75 pounds, though, I would want to work on saying I want to be X amount of pounds. So whatever you minus 75 pounds is, I would say, I want to weigh that amount of weight. I want to be that version of me. I want to live at X amount of pounds. That's how I want to live. That's who I want to be. That's what I want to make my reality. That rhymes. So that's a little tweak I would do. Yeah. Shireen says, yeah, please send some starter. I know the starter thing. They got my brother. My brother was a big part of that because he got me going. So I had a lot of success right from the beginning because I could kind of help out with him. That made it fun. But I like taking care of stuff. I just like stuff like that. Like I got fish. I don't know. Like I'm really good with the kind of routine stuff. It soothes my soul. I know for some people it sounds like misery, but for me, I kind of like having routines. It's very soothing for me. Judy says, do you believe in tracking your daily intake of food? I don't believe in anything 100%. The golden rule of programming yourself then is there's no right or wrong. There's only what works for you. So if you've been tracking your food for 5 years and you're at your goal weight and you love it and it's going great, then I say do it. Great for you. But if you try tracking everything you eat and it starts to feel tedious and terrible, I say it's not good for you. And that's the experience most people have. So I do think that tracking your calories for a week or two just to get a sense of where your calories come from is really valuable. I think tracking your calories forever sounds tedious and terrible to me. I would never want to do it. So that's my thoughts on that. Melancholy says, my hope is to learn how to not let comments and opinions shake me again. Weight is a private struggle fought publicly and it sucks. Yeah, true story. Everyone's got bad habits and weight is really unique because it shows to the world and it's unfair and it sucks. And I agree with that. So yeah, as much as you can keep it yourself, right? Yeah. So Jill says I did that 3 times. Geez, Jill. Well, I'm proud of you for listening to me because you're still in the game. Okay. So make sure anyone that's lost weight and put it back on, please, please get my hypnosis session and get in my world. Please. I promise you, if you have the ability to lose weight once, twice, 3 times and you put it back on, you've got so much valuable wisdom that you can tap into and use. Because I always say with Program Yourself Thin, we learn and grow from all the experiences we've had, the successes and the failures. We learn and grow from them, and we use them to achieve the results we want as we move into the future. And I think that's so crucial. And I think you're in a good position. I know it sounds weird because you're always beating yourself up about putting the weight back on, but when you learn how to use it properly, it's just different, you know? And it says, I'm getting the book. I love the mindset aspect of your work. That's awesome. Yeah, you're all going to want the book. I'm telling you, this book is really good. I hope, I don't know. It's just funny. It's a funny thing, like how good I think it is and to see what the world thinks of it. I think it's great though. So definitely get on my email list. I'm giving away for free January 1st through the 5th. So make sure you go check that out. Oh, am I muted? I'm still muted over here on TikTok land. No wonder. Okay. Well, that's so weird. Oh, well, sorry. So TikTok, I'm just showing up muted. That's kind of weird. Screwy. Sorry, TikTok. I was wondering why the subscribes were going down to nothing. That was freaking me out though. What's up, Mari? Mari says, I eat like a thin, healthy person now. I get it, but I imagine I'll be weighing myself, monitoring forever. I don't ever want to gain the weight again. You are so motivating, Jim. Thanks, Mari. Yeah, it's Mari's in the program, so I know you're doing awesome. So that makes me so happy. But I imagine I'll be weighing myself, monitoring forever. That's a good question. I don't weigh myself every day. Eventually you get to the point, I'm just going to turn off TikTok. It's freaking me out. Now this is weird though. I never worked this way. So I got to keep looking at the camera here. So great job, Mari. So are you going to weigh yourself forever? Like when I was actively losing weight, I was weighing myself every day. And then eventually I maintained my weight for a long time and I didn't need to weigh myself every day, because you understand you're in the program. So you start structuring everything. So you really start monitoring your eating and your structure. And if it stays the same, your weight's pretty much going to stay the same, So eventually you're going to get to the point where you don't need to weigh yourself so much. That being said, now you're still going to be monitoring your eating to some degree. Hopefully you're going to do the reader rehearsal technique forever. And that's just going to help you be aware of what you're doing, what your behavior is, and you'll do that forever because things are always kind of changing, but you'll start coasting more, I'll say. Okay. But great job. Nice work moving forward with that. Lana says, I was so exhausted mentally after losing that weight. I just stopped even caring. You're right about trading the excitement for food for weight loss, then having no pleasure when you reach your goal weight. I appreciate you saying that Lena, because a lot of people don't realize that or they don't acknowledge that. And I think it's one of the fundamental reasons why people put the weight back on. So I appreciate you saying that. Healthy Habit says, I traded the pleasure and excitement of the food for the pleasure and excitement of hobbies I really love, like writing books, selling vintage jewelry, and now making my own jewelry to sell. All right. Yes. Jim's program completely changed my life in a super positive way. Yes, absolutely. And you're a superstar. I love that strategy so much. The idea, Rachel's such an interesting story because she got in the program and she really, again, took this stuff to heart. And so she traded the time she used to eat for time when she would write. And she's written books now. She's making jewelry. Just a super success story and a real great role model, Rachel. You know what I mean? I think you really tapped on some great strategies in a real profound way. So that is very good advice. I will tell you, Rachel's very successful and she's been extremely successful because the hobby thing is crucial. That's actually in here. If make sure if you're in the program, go check the weight loss blueprint. In this book, I actually added 2 bonus lifestyle habits, and one of them is hobbies because I found it to be so valuable that if you can start to add hobbies into your life that truly fulfill you and make you happy, it's transformative, and Rachel's a wonderful, wonderful example of that, for sure. I'm gonna take a screenshot of that because Rachel's a superstar. Yeah. And what the other thing Rachel says You know, I'm going to get that one too, because I see Rachel says, and I'm 59. So I appreciate you saying that too, because I know sometimes we can have the limiting beliefs that, as we get older, nothing's going to change. So I really appreciate you saying that. But yeah, Rachel saying I maintained a now 19-pound weight loss through death in the family, my wedding, my daughter's wedding, and my new hobbies. Right. So, I mean, what an accomplishment. Because again, weight loss is great, but maintaining the weight loss through real life that's the real thing we're after. And so super role model that, Rachel. I appreciate you sharing that. Lena says, I love lots of sourdough recipes over on Lana Bakes. Oh, Lana. Okay. You ain't joking. I'm calling you Lana, but I think it's Lena. I apologize for that. A little shout out for your thing. Let me see. I'm going to go check that out. I'm going to go put that in now because I'll never remember it. Lena Bakes Blogspot. I'm going to check that out because I love the recipes now. I never baked anything. I baked cookies last year a couple times. It's funny. My secret life. I'm like Batman. I got my secret life. But during the day, I slim people down, and at night I thicken them up. All right, a lot of bakes. There it is. Oh, a lot of Lena. That's a beautiful sourdough. I can see it. Oh man, sourdough biscuits. All right. I'll leave the rest when he wants to see it. I'm not going to torture you all. Thanks for sharing that, though. Yeah. Lena says, I'm right there with you, wanting to enjoy everything, but my reality is if I eat more than 10 grams of carbs per meal, I won't lose weight. With carb cycling, I can have up to 40 grams per meal, but have to keep fat below 5 grams, and that's no fun. I don't count calories at all. Yeah, I will tell you, Lena, nutrition's a very complex thing. And I think me personally, now I don't know you and you know yourself and you seem like you're pretty smart and have paid a lot of attention to this stuff. I think you probably have some limiting beliefs about carbs. Now I say that, no, don't get mad at me. Cause I think that a lot of times we think of our body as it is at the beginning of the process or throughout the weight issues. But if you can start to add more whole foods into your diet, right? So those are carbs. Right. So I think a lot of people, I get worried with the carb phobic people because a lot of times people, when they're so fixated on carbs, more often than not, they intentionally or unintentionally start to eliminate fruits and vegetables and grains from their diet. And I have found that sometimes that carb phobic thing is really scary because listen, folks, the healthiest diets on the planet, the healthiest people in the world, historically, without question, there's not even any debate to this. The healthiest populations on planet Earth in the modern world consist of high carb, low protein diets. Let me say that one more time, because I know for some people, they can't believe that's possible. The healthiest societies in the modern world, without question, are high carb, low protein diets. You can go look at the blue zones, and what they're eating is a lot of whole natural fruits, vegetables, and grains, small amounts of protein, small amounts relatively of fat, small amounts of sugar, all that. So a lot of times when people get into the carb thing, they're getting into the carb thing, but they're doing that within the context of a standard American diet. So they have a lot of processed foods, a lot of fat, a lot of saturated fat, a lot of protein, and they get fixated on carbs in that context. And I think the core of a good eating strategy, now again, whatever works for you, knock yourself out. But I think what sets you up for the easiest weight maintenance is to start to create a diet that's primarily whole natural foods. And when you start doing that, it affects your microbiome and you start to transform to some degree in a different version of yourself. And when that microbiome and body that's primarily whole natural foods consumes carbs like sourdough bread, it's a different reaction. I'm just going to leave that there. Shireen says, random thought, after all this time, I realized I don't like birthday cake. I have only eaten because it was there. This past week, it was my birthday, my first without a cake, but I want the song. Nice job. It'll blow out the candles. Good for you, Shireen, right? Again, that's what we're doing. We're paying attention to the subtleties. So I'm so proud of you for that. That's wonderful. And that's so much of the process is realizing the things you thought you loved so much, really, they're okay. They're not the greatest thing in the world. So that's wonderful. Jill says, last time I lost weight, I made a point of measuring my success by asking myself at the end of the day, or on the spot, did I behave and make choices like someone who weighs 155 pounds, my happy weight? Yeah, that's super. I think that's wonderful, Jill. That's so much what we do in Program Yourself Thin. So much of Program Yourself Thin is so much different than diets because it's an inside out approach, where dieting is all about changing what you're doing on the outside so that you change on the inside. In Program Yourself Thin, we start by thinking about who we want to be. And it's not just about weight either, because in Program Yourself Thin, we take the weight and we wrap it in personal development. So it's a little trick we do, but it's very important. It's really, in Program Yourself Thin, the real goal is not to just weigh what you want to weigh. It's to be who you want to be. It's to live the life you want to live. It's to be the version of yourself you want to be. And one aspect of that is that you're going to weigh a certain amount. But this is a very important contextual shift, is that we make the weight secondary to being the person you want to be. That's a very important piece of the puzzle. And I think what you're doing, Jill, is great. I think because in Program Yourself Thin, what we look to do right from the very first day is to start, who am I at my goal weight? How do I think? How do I talk to myself? How do I respond around food? How do I act? How do I behave? And we get obsessed with that until it becomes our reality. So I think that's a great, great strategy, Jill. Yep. Yeah, Shireen, exactly. Those whole natural foods are high in fiber, the key. Yes, agreed. And that's the subtext of what I was saying with the whole natural foods, is that your natural fiber intake is so much higher. And that's where the magic comes from, in my opinion. I think high fiber is the secret. High natural fiber, not more Metamucil. Not that won't help, but I'm talking about fiber in whole natural foods, I think, is the secret to the easiest weight maintenance you can achieve. What's up, Christy? Christy, I'll take one. I'm not too far. That's funny. I know I'm going to give those away. It's funny. I can't wait. I'm excited to give away to the food pantry, though, because it's the bread I'm making is straight fire. I mean, it's really good. It's really good. What's up, Vicky? Vicky says, I love the PYT framework with its built-in flexibility and continual self-reassessment. That's why I switched. Yes. And Vicky's a pro too. She was a lifetime Weight Watchers member and found Program Yourself Thin, and now, uses that. It use both, right? Again, Program Yourself Thin is not about like, oh, just do this. Program Yourself Thin is about pull from all the different plans what works and discard what doesn't, in service of creating a one-size-fits-one plan for you. So yeah, you're a superstar with that, Vicky. What's up, Kirsty? Kirsty says, I've lost over 34 pounds. I've recently been holiday and managed to maintain my weight. I have another 10 pounds to go to reach my target weight, but I'm lacking motivation to get into a calorie deficit diet. I get that, Kirsty. I would suggest listening to some of the podcasts I did this week, specifically about dealing with the holidays. I congratulations, first of all, congratulations. Dropping 34 pounds and maintaining it is a big accomplishment. So nice job. Celebrate that, acknowledge it. That being said, December may not be the best time to try and get fired up and get refocused and do that. Now, again, I don't know what your December looks like, but if you got, parties or events or holiday stuff and eating and all the rest of that stuff going on, December may not be the month to really focus on losing that last 10 pounds. It might be the month to focus on maintaining and then enjoy yourself and then kick off in January. But again, motivation is a big part, so I will recognize and acknowledge that. That's why in Program Yourself Thin, when it comes to mindset, the very first thing we do in the mindset part is motivation. Because ironically, motivation is the most important part of the process of weight loss. And yet you dieters have never learned how to motivate yourself, right? You have no control over your motivation. You're either motivated and you don't know why, or you're not motivated and you don't know how to fix it. So that's another piece of the puzzle, Kirsty. But again, make sure you get click the link I put them in the comments. Make sure you go get that hypnosis session. Because another thing I've done, I have a thing called the weight loss motivation challenge that I give away sometimes. So, get on my list and I'll probably give that away at some point. That might help you out. Jill says, I've been catching up on your library of vids. This is the first time making it to a live. Thank you so much for all this. You're welcome, Jill. Yeah, the lives are awesome. And remember, these lives are recorded and uploaded as podcasts as well. So I do these lives every Monday through Friday, usually around noon Eastern. But if you can't make them, you want to listen to them, you can go to any podcast platform, search Program Yourself, then you can listen to whenever you want. All right. So keep that in mind. Lena says, I think a lot of it is genetics too. I have 8 out of 10 obesity genes and mucks up my already defunct methylation system. Good Lord. See, there you go. See, I knew you knew what you're talking about, right? But mitochondria burn ketones like jet fuel. Yeah, that's a lot of fancy words. So again, I'm not going to argue with that stuff, right? I am not a scientist and I'm not a nutritionist and I don't pretend that I am. So again, I think genetics definitely play a part, no question about it. But even with genetics, I do think that ultimately the diet, because I've seen people, you could have those genetics, Lena, and you could take those genetics and be like, I've got to eat low carbs. And again, what I'd love to know is what your, on average, typical day, typical week, what percentage of your food is whole natural fruits, vegetables, whole grains? I'd want to know that regardless of your genetics. Because I think a lot of times people will get genetic reports and they will interpret it as I can't eat carbs. And they will throw, it's kind of, to me, it's like throwing the baby out with the bathwater that, oh, I can't eat carbs, so I have to get rid of carbs and I'm not going to eat fruit and vegetables, too many carbs. Now, again, you seem to know yourself well, so I'm not sitting here questioning that, but I would ask that question because, yeah, I think it's important. What's up, Vale? Vale says, I struggle most with being the cook at home and making food around the clock for my 3 children. My biggest struggle is with dinner. I taste test and we're having pasta. It all goes downhill. Fair enough, Vale. I totally get that. That's why in Program Yourself Thin, what we do is we kind of work on one habit at a time. You know, with dieting, you change everything instantly in one day. With Program Yourself Thin, we strategically take things on 1-2 things at a time. So for you, you know, you would start to focus on your dinner, and especially the taste testing. And we would focus on that. Again, in Program Yourself Thin, we'd use a reader rehearsal technique to do it. So again, Vale, please, you know, make sure you sign up on my email list because I'm gonna have a special report next week. It's going to show you how to do the redo technique. I'm giving it for free. Okay. And if you start redo rehearsing the technique based on your dinner tasting, within a couple of weeks, you'll have a handle on it. And then you can start to focus on the next thing. One other thing I'll tell you though, is a lot of times where the problem shows up is not where the problem was created. And so sometimes, you know, taste testing at dinner and, you know, influencing that is harder if you haven't eaten right during the day, or if you're exhausted, or if you know, haven't taken care of yourself. So anyways, Vicky says, for me at this stage, I find Weight Watchers helpful for the social component in the meetings I go to on Sundays. Yeah, again, that's the best part of Weight Watchers. Everyone knows that. The plans, you know, again, it's just, there's nothing really special about the Weight Watchers plan. It's the social piece that's definitely the most valuable piece of Weight Watchers. So yeah, it's a smart move. And so, all right, I'm going to get out of here, everyone. I hope you all enjoyed this. Thank you so much for your comments and questions. I really appreciated it. If you're not in my world, please click the link in my bio, go get the free hypnosis session. If you are not in my world, make sure you do that. Again, you're going to want to get in there. And if you like this, I'm here Monday through Fridays around noon Eastern. And if you like to listen to it whenever you want, it's also a podcast called Program Yourself Thin, and you can look that up and listen anytime you like. Have a great super duper weekend, and we will talk soon. Bye, everyone.